Hey guys, I'm joined with Adam Mills and John Murphy. Adam is with Source Endurance, and John, if you don't already know who he is, former pro for United Healthcare and Rally. He's seen and done it all on the U.S. domestic and international circuit as well. Welcome, guys.
Good afternoon. How's everyone?
Good. It's good to see everybody. Everyone's fresh back from either Unbound or Tulsa. But today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the camps that we have going on. Adam, why don't you sort of take us through what these camps are and what the experience is?
Yeah, so it all started a few years ago when I just had moved to California and saw this like horrible attrition rate that Belgian Waffle Ride had, and knowing what I knew about the sport, I thought people just need a way to prepare for this better than whatever they're doing. So we launched this survival camp, and a few years later, we sell the one out in San Diego. We're expanding to the other events this year. Could not get a San Diego one running because of COVID in 2021. And then that brings in Mr. Murphy here and with Gulo Composites for an Asheville camp as well. The camps are kind of your luxury training camp, preparation camp, recon camp. We look at like ride the course, have fun, eat good food, have an adult beverage, ride it in a way that makes you remember it as opposed to suffering and only staring at the wheel in front of you for the entire day. So that's kind of the short, and we can get more into it.
All right, and John, you've attended your fair share of camps when you were on the pro scene. Those, I would say, are a little bit more different. So if you're reconning like a Belgian Classic or a Spring Classic, that's all business. There's a little bit of that. There's some advantage to actually going to the course you're going to race in the future. What kind of experience did you gain from not just pre-riding, but being out there a little bit early, scouting out the course and the competition?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian, and Adam as well. One of the biggest correlations that I think is made between the Belgian Waffle Ride series and road racing, which is what I'm most familiar with, is probably Paris-Roubaix. And when it comes to Paris-Roubaix, the most important thing you can do before that event is pre-ride the cobble sections, pre-ride the critical moments, and see it for yourself, have a look at it, and also test equipment. So I think that's probably the most notable event that we would recon. And we would do it every year, no matter if you'd ridden the race 10 times or if it was your first time, you would always recon with your whole team. Maybe even a couple extra reserve riders would also do the recon. So we knew how important it was to see the cobblestones, see the entrance to the sectors, the exit to the sectors. You would always want to be visualizing and focused on the actual course you were going to be racing on.
So let's say you have two riders of equal ability, equal equipment, everything's the same, but one person actually does their homework, they pre-ride, they do a camp, versus someone who shows up on race day. Could that be sort of the determining factor of having a great day on the bike versus not?
Oh my goodness. It only takes one mistake, one moment of inattention, one little bit of focus to slip for your entire strategy or plan to be derailed. Whether it could be, choice of equipment, choice of, positioning before an important section, not realizing how quickly a section's coming up, even something as minor as like not knowing exactly when you should be eating your food or drinking out of your bottles. All these tiny little marginal gains that happen all day long during an event like this, they add up. And yeah, it can be any little slippage, mentally or physically. Yeah, it's never apples to apples out there.
And Adam, I'm ashamed to say I am one of those people. I've actually never attended a camp before. So if I sign up, and I'm not a pro, and I'm not saying doing a gravel race to win it, I want to maybe go for a best time or even finish in some cases. If I sign up for a camp, what would the experience be like for a first timer like me?
First and foremost, we would give all the campers the tools to be successful, regardless of what their end goal is. So, looking at like the Belgian Waffle Ride events, most of the people there, I mean, they're not racing to win, and if they think they are, they have some hard lessons coming their way. But most of them are rightfully intimidated by the prospect of completing this event in a reasonable time and not like suffering horribly all day long. And so we give them those tools, and you start with registering, and there's a couple of like newsletter flyers that come out that talks about like, let's prepare for the camp, because you can't just show up without ever riding your bike. And then throughout the week, we talk about like, okay, this is this type of sectors today. This is how we're going to ride it. We're going to ride it to like get through it quickly, keep your equipment intact, strategies and tactics with that, looking at nutrition. We'll have guidance and skills sessions from the instructors. And then when the rides are over, you get some good food and some good times, and you can all sit around the campfire, so to speak, and reminisce about the good and bad decisions that we all made that day during the ride.
So you're saying that even though these camps are designed to get the best out of you, the friends you make on that camp, because you don't run teams in gravel racing, really. So these guys are the same guys and girls you're going to be doing the race with together, and you're not necessarily trying to beat them. It's more of like a camaraderie.
I mean, and John knows a lot about this. The alliances are always fragile in cycling. So even though you're with the camp with these people and you're suffering all day with these people, when you hit the finish line or you can see it, sometimes you just got to race them at the end. And so a fair number of people do that. A fair number of people just want to finish and they roll in and they're happy with that. But yeah, it's for the most part build the camaraderie, and it's always nicer to do an event like a Belgian Waffle Ride amongst friends, right? Because if you're going to hang out with someone all day, it should probably be a friend.
And John, I hate to throw you under the bus like this, but pro cyclists are notorious for being terrible at working on their own equipment. Pro flats, and they're like, where's my team car, right? And they're out training in the middle of nowhere. So for not just pros, but for everybody else, gravel racing, you oftentimes have to be self-sustained, aware. Does the camp go over that for people who are mechanically challenged like the average pro?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for industry partners, and like Gulo Composites will be present. Obviously, we'll have wheels and tires and options for everybody to not only test on the course itself, but also learn how to change a flat. Work on, if you bend a rotor, work on getting yourselves out of the woods, so to speak, is what we call it on the mountain bike front. You've got to take care of yourself out there. You've got to know how to survive the elements, and you've got to be able to not only ride your bike, but also make sure the bike survives the course and the race.
And so, Adam, that's something that the experts at these camps, do they actually teach you a little bit about bike care, bike maintenance? I mean, I've shown up to races and forgotten my shoes, and that's just at a crit. So I can only imagine all the factors of tubeless sealant and tires and camelbacks and nutrition. Is all that covered in these camps?
Yes, we also have a lecture series with the camps. We do one in the morning and then one in the evening or afternoon as well. And then on the rides, we'll even talk about changing flats to get you to the aid station if you have to get there. And John mentioned changing it flat, and it made me realize, like, man, these people, a lot of people that are going from tube type tires to tubeless, the changing a flat process is a lot different, and it can be a lot more messy. And so it's not necessarily, it's all the same similar set of skills, but it's a little bit different. So you have to know how to do both. Or just to get yourself to the aid station or out of the woods is a great analogy. But yeah, we go through all of that. And bottom line, like, you need your equipment to make it at least to the aid station where I think Belgian Waffle Ride almost always has a mechanic at every aid station. So if you can get there, they can probably get you limping home, if nothing else. You don't have to sit there at the aid station until someone picks you up, whenever that would be.
Right, so I would say that for people to have a good day out there on the bike, you need your equipment to work. You also need your body to work. Does the camp go over like hydration, nutrition? I mean, Unbound was basically a competitive eating contest with the amount of calories some of the pros were taking in. What can people learn about, or what's going to be talked about when it comes to nutrition at these camps?
So we will use nutrition and hydration strategies are definitely a talk. And that's where it's great to have someone like John who will provide a real world, like, real world experiences on exactly how much it takes. So like the survival camp in North Carolina, it's in August before the event, and North Carolina is not known for being cool and dry in August. And so, the humidity, the heat, that changes how much you have to eat and drink and what you should eat and drink. And John lives there and he knows the course. And so who's better to offer their expertise about the kinds of things that, will and won't work. Like, if you drop a Snickers bar in your pocket in Asheville in August, that thing, like, congratulations, you now have chocolate pudding. And you don't even realize that until it's time to eat your delicious Snickers bar and you realize it's just chocolate pudding now. And so things like that will and won't work are obviously like the experience that you're getting. And so people don't have to make that mistake before they figure it out.
So John, you're basically not only such an experienced pro, you have thousands of kilometers or miles under your belt. You also have the added knowledge of knowing sort of what's out there, the topography. In a sense, you'd be like, if somebody was traveling to a far off land, you'd be the local guide, getting them through the jungle. Any insight you can tell us about what challenges people from, say, sea level and perfect weather year-round in San Diego would find in North Carolina? Are we looking at snakes, or what are we looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm uniquely positioned with Gulo. We've got the opportunity here. We're in Western North Carolina, so we have, we're obviously in the elements. I'm also the course designer for the North Carolina Belgian Waffle Ride. So what you're going to wind up seeing is that not only can I help you, and we help you test our carbon wheels on the course, but I also know firsthand every inch of the course, so I can help you make good decisions in terms of what gear you select and how you fuel for this ride, but also how you hydrate and fuel differently because of the heat, the humidity, like Adam mentioned earlier, but also we're a temperate rainforest and we get rain, I would say nearly every single day. So you're most likely going to deal with some weather out there, whether it's rain or wind or heat or humidity, or aside from weather, we do have snakes. So you never know what you're going to see. And my goal is to help guide a crew through probably one of the gnarliest gravel courses I've ever designed. So I'm pretty excited to help everybody out.
Well, and can I add something there too? Is the Belgian Waffle Ride courses are notorious for being just severe to the point where you start to question your equipment choices, right? So do you go full gravel or do you hedge with a like not quite as severe gravel setup. Whereas like San Diego one, do you go with a cyclocross tire type setup, or do you just go with a road bike and try and finesse it through? Or the Utah camp, where do you go really big beefy tires, or do you need something faster? You know, and Michael and the course designers have always been really good at making it so you kind of question what you're going to do. And that's where the local guides really, the local gurus. So John obviously is like the man to know, or the person to know in North Carolina. And our Kansas Survival Camp, the Steve Tilford Foundation, is probably writing the course as we speak, or different parts of it. And they basically designed the course as well there. And then in Utah, we have a couple instructors that we'll announce coming up that train on the course on a daily, weekly basis. So you have all this very, very high quality local knowledge, and that helps everyone.
Yeah, that's great. I think I don't know. Can we use the term course doping by having so much knowledge that it's almost an unfair advantage, even though you're not doping or cheating? It's just having that extra bit of knowledge and insight that's going to help. It's going to be huge. Not to mention, gravel, at least what I just saw at Unbound last week, is getting so much more competitive. Not just on the pro side, but everybody, the weekend warrior, someone who has a full-time job, everyone's stepping up their game. So why not add this into the mix for sure? How can people find out more about where to sign up for these camps, the dates, and all the pertinent information?
So there's a link from the Belgian Waffle Ride page that will take you to all the camp and clinic offerings for the event. And so they're all mentioned right there. I think Gulo Composites is doing. You guys have your own page and your own setup for that, John. So that's awesome too. So there's a number of ways to get there. Ultimately, if you just type it into Google, it'll pop up as the first thing too.
Okay, and John, what's sort of one last bit of insight, advice you can give to people maybe on the fence and going, well, I don't need to go to a camp, or maybe I want to. What's one piece of advice you could give those people who are maybe just unsure about this kind of experience?
Personally, if I was trying to do this ride and have my best experience possible, obviously knowing the course as well as I do, I would want to see it. I would want to ride it. I would want to feel the heat. I would want to test my tires. And I would want to ride it with the local crew who know exactly how these types of roads can punish your bike over the course of a 100+ mile race. I would want to see it before I raced on it. All
right, and that is only a risk the absolutely daring will take. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
And I had one quick thing too.
Absolutely, Adam.
And I had a note to say this early, and I didn't, and I'm sorry. John hit the nail on the head early when he said, or he alluded to the fact that if you want to succeed or to have a high level of success, pre-riding something this important is a necessity. So I will say that.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. Never, as I was told as a junior, never experiment on race day, which includes going into a race completely blind. So the days of winging it are over. So it's good to know.
Yeah. And I would also add that if you're a North Carolina or Western North Carolina local, you might think that you don't need to see these roads because maybe you've ridden all the gravel in the area and you know it's coming, but you don't know what direction we're riding this stuff on. And there could be some other stuff that we throw your way that surprises you. And this course will not be publicized until after this camp has pretty much been concluded. So if you're not going to see this course before the event, at least you're not going to know the direction we ride stuff and the combination that we put it in. So something to think about.
All right, keeping it under wraps to the last minute. I love it. That way, everyone's surprised at the same time. Thanks so much, guys, and we look forward to seeing you at the camps.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.